Welcome to today's Zcash Community Call, where we're going to meet the candidates that are standing for election for the Zcash Community Grants Committee, more commonly known as ZCG. The largest slice of the Zcash Dev Fund is allocated to fund independent teams to perform major ongoing development and other work that benefits the Zcash ecosystem. Grants are chosen by a 5-person committee whose members are elected by the Zcash Community Advisory Panel. The Zcash Foundation administers the ZCG funds and provides operational support, including running these elections. However, the committee is entirely independent in terms of its decision-making. To date, ZCG has approved nearly $13.5 million in grants and has distributed over $10.4 million for completed milestones. At today's ZEC price, the ZCG treasury is worth a little over $2 million, with another $1 million worth of ZEC set to accumulate by the end of the current Dev Fund in November. Committee members serve a 1-year term, and 2 members' terms expire at the end of June. 7 candidates are standing for election, and we'll begin by asking them to introduce themselves, tell us a bit about their background and experience, and why they think they should be elected to ZCG. And we'll start off with Roosevelt.
Well, hello, good afternoon. Well, my name is Roosevelt. I'm glad to be here. For those who don't know me, I'm an active member of the Zcash in Espanol community since 2002. I joined the community thanks to an activity organized by the ambassador at the time, Jodita. And it was love at first sight to me. The ecosystem, free to see, the wallets, the privacy, the philosophy, and how close I found many of the members of the Anglo community, like this call. From then on, I have collaborated in different Zcash spaces, such as the SecHub DAO, Zcash, the Zcash podcast in Espanol, activities in Discord, teaching and guiding about wallets, etc. And I am advocate of privacy technology, and living in Venezuela, I know how important and risky is it to put into play. And that is why I believe in Zcash, but I also know that for that technology to be used, it must first be thought and spread. That is why I firmly believe that Zcash needs more educational initiative to be promoted from ZCG in different parts of the world. Of course, always taking into account the viability of this initiative, the content of the proposals, and the realistic and achievable objectives that are proposed. I believe that there should be a balance between technical and community initiatives that are approved from ZCG. The power of Zcash lies not only in its technology, but in how much we get the communities, the citizens, to use it. Thank you.
Thanks, Roosevelt. Next up, we'll hear from G-Guy.
Hello, everyone. I'm G-Guy. I have been on the committee for a year now. And to keep it short, my belief is that ZCG can and should, as a priority, absolutely contribute to the value of Zcash for current and future users. And the way that we do that is by funding initiatives that provide that make Zcash a better product for them, and that includes, I think there's a bit of a nuance there, which is that to attract adoption and future users, you need to give current users the best product they could have. So I think that's really important for us to focus on, to make Zcash a product that is not only great, but also necessary for its users. Thanks.
Thanks, G-Guy. Next up, we'll have Wobbs.
Hey everybody, this is Wobbs. I go by Brian or Wobbs on the forum and other places. I've been serving on the committee for 2.5 years now. My professional background is in information security. And I took an early interest in decentralized computing, found Bitcoin over a decade ago, and eventually encountered Zcash. I'm here because I believe digital assets have the potential to bring about major changes in the financial industry and our lives, and believe that privacy is lacking in a lot of the most talked about assets. So I think privacy is a fundamental human right, and that Zcash has a great opportunity to be a force for good in this ecosystem. So that's why I'm here. I want to continue contributing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Samara.
Hi, everyone. I'm Samara from Brazil. My main background is business administration, but I also did a postgrad in business management in Canada. So I believe I will bring value to the Zcash ecosystem because I have more than 15 years experience in customer servicing and also in management. So I have been working with the Zcash Brazil since the beginning of the community, doing translation, participating in many events. The most important one for me was the ZCon Voices Brazil, the first ZCon that was done outside of the United States. And I was one of the responsible to organizing, and I also the presenter. So I believe we did a great job on this. I also participated in an online podcast with Ian. I was in ZCon Barcelona as well. Participated with 2 live streamed, Blockchain Rio, in many other events. So why choose me? Yeah. So because I'm very close, very in contact with the community, I have listening from them, understanding their pain and the desires to the ecosystem. I also, because my huge experience in the corporation world, I believe I'm very good in very decision make. So I will be prioritizing proposals that will make sure they will add a real value to the Zcash ecosystem. And also you can count on me being committed, doing the researching and analyzing all the proposals before voting, using all the skills that I have and making sure the return on investments are the best for the our community and of course the stakeholders. And if you are in the same page as me, that is making sure the community and the stakeholders are the ones that we are making the focus, the most important, listening their needs and beliefs. So please vote for me. And that's it. Thank you again.
Thank you, Samara. Next up, we'll hear from Chidi. Oh, we can't hear you, Chidi.
You're muted.
Okay, greetings,
There we
guys.
go.
Chidi Olisa by name. I go by Lisa001 in the forum. Came from a background of chemical engineering, studied chemical engineering in school, got into the Zcash ecosystem since 2020, worked as a GAP member, that is the Global Ambassador Program for Africa. During my time as a GAP member, I gathered a lot of experiences, did a lot of events, in-person events, very close to grassroots, onboarded businesses to use Zcash. These are tangible businesses, though it had its own challenges. So why me? I love to be a member of the committee. I've observed that since inception of ZCG, no single grant has ever been approved from Africa. I would like to work with projects in Africa and help them to come up with both technical and not technical grants that will be beneficial to the Zcash ecosystem in Africa. I also supervised the setting up of some Zcash communities across Africa, empowered them with my stipend, some of my stipends from the Global Ambassador Program, and I would love to do more. Organize educational activities, fun activities ranging from sports, entertainment, meetups, gathered a lot of feedbacks. And I strongly believe that Africa could be the next wave of Zcash adoption if we could just give us a little leap. Thank you, guys. Vote for me. A vote for me is a vote for not only Africa, but a vote for more progress of Zcash. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chidi. Next up, we'll hear from K-Works. Can you hear us, K-Works?
Yeah, check.
Yeah, we can
hi,
hear
I'm
you.
K-Works. I'm really excited. If many people can remember, just a year ago, we only had 3 people for this particular election, and one was fortunate enough to get a really cool opportunity. So 2 members were immediately appointed and not necessarily elected by Zcash. So I'm really excited to see 7 passionate people that are interested in the Zcash protocol to be able to debate about some really great ideas and where they would like to facilitate ZCG. Myself, I'm a node operator. I've held ZEC for a significant amount of time. I've incorporated ZecWeb.com in Canada. I'm excited to try to build a web wallet and all the challenges that surround that. But most importantly, I'm trying to participate in ZCG in order to help the governance of Zcash protocol in order to make some logical decisions of how we allocate resources to grow user adoption and make the ecosystem stronger, not just for the current users now, but also for all the future users that haven't actually discovered the power and utility of Zcash. So I'm really excited to come and talk about all kinds of great questions that have been posted by members in the forum. So thanks to everybody that posted some really cool questions. And I can't wait to try to discuss some of them. So I look forward to it.
Thanks, K-Works. And finally, we have Peacemonger.
Everyone, I go by Peacemonger on the forum. I joined Zcash World a little over 2 years ago as the head of product marketing at ECC. And then last year, I went through the ZCG grant process to fund my own project called JUR, which stands for Zcash User Research and Engagement. Some of you are familiar with that work, and I did a presentation on it at the last ZCon. If you're curious, there's a video on YouTube. Now I'm working with ECC again, so user research continues. In fact, if you saw the Zcash survey floating around, please fill it out. I can't help but plug that right now because we really need that data. I have a marketing background, worked for startups my whole life. I grew up in Silicon Valley, so the startup culture is my home. I don't mind the turbulence. I've seen a lot of smart people fail, a lot of really seemingly great ideas fail. When you constantly try to do something you've never done before, that's kind of part of the game. Some of it is natural, and then some of it is just common mistakes that could have easily been avoided. I also know what success feels like in the process leading up to it and how it feels. It does not feel like success. It feels like uncertainty and doubt and confusion, kind of like what we're experiencing right now. But there's also usually a hint of positive energy that makes you want to push forward, and I do see that in the community as well. You just have to try everything until it clicks, and maybe it hasn't clicked for Zcash just yet, but it's starting to feel like it's about to. We're definitely moving in the right direction. We're getting closer to that click. There are clear signs of that, and I'm super bullish, which is why Zcash is all I want to do. It's a bit of an obsession at this point. And I really do believe that we have all the ingredients we need in this community. I've gotten to know this community over the last couple of years. We also have some ingredients we don't need, and we're still missing a few. So this is why user research is important. Without it, projects just kind of fly blind, wasting resources, which also we see in this ecosystem sometimes. You could rely on luck, but luck is not a strategy, although it works sometimes on rare occasions. I don't know what all the ingredients were missing, but no one does. People can guess, but yeah, they don't know. But I would hate to spend another 8 years watching millions of dollars flow into expensive projects that have no significant effect on user adoption, which ultimately is all I care about. I just want Zec to make it into the hands of as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. So one of the ingredients we've been missing, I think, is user research, and that is what I continue to do, and that is what I would bring to ZCG. So thank you for considering my nomination. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Peacemonger. So we're going to jump over to the questions that were shared on the forum and received the most upvotes. I want to just say for the candidates here, Dodger will be posting the questions and the order in the chat, so you guys can see that as we go along. And we'll kick it right off with question number 1 from Jason McGee. Given ZCG's budget constraints, how would you balance allocating funding towards community programs and development initiatives? Which would you prioritize and why? And first up is Roosevelt.
Okay. Well, I have said many times, I believe there should be a balance. Just as technical projects are approved and financed, so should an equal number of projects or amount of community and educational projects. But of course, it is also necessary to encourage the users themselves to create proposals and launch projects from the communities. The message that many people read today from ZCG is that there is only money for development and the technological projects, and that makes many people who are not developers refrain from proposing things. I think that we can change and improve that.
Thank you, Roosevelt. Next up, G-Guy.
Yeah, I think both are very important. I think there are things that ZCG and I would like to see done better regarding the community and encourage community projects, more participation from the community, more proposals from the community. I think the community provides an extraordinarily large and underappreciated amount of value for not just current users, but also user adoption. So I would like to see that side of things increase. But of course, we don't have a product without continuing to develop one. So there is a balance there. But I absolutely think there is a lot of room for community participation funding projects to increase. And I think we can assist in allowing the community to do that in the future, and I'd like to see that happen.
Thanks, G-Guy. Wobbs?
Hey, thanks for the question. So at this point in time, I lean heavily towards development initiatives more so than community programs. And even within the development initiatives that we consider, like we also have to be really selective with those as well, because we're in tight budget conditions right now. So this is not to say, that community initiatives are not important. I do think that community initiatives are important. One of the most valuable ones that I think is beneficial to the community right now is ZChub. And, given better budget conditions in the future, I would like to see other things started back up, like the ambassador program and things like that. I think that community initiatives can be, they're not the sole source of, but they can be a good source for, grant applicants or a pool of applicants to the grant program. So I think, we have to balance it, but right now I lean more towards the development side because we have, some major things that we funded that we need to see get across the finish line and help with the user adoption side. Thank you.
Thanks, Wobbs. Samara?
So in my opinion, I believe it should be like a 50-50. When we just put all the money through development, we just have a protocol. One thing. When you just put all the money through community and people, we just have a junction, a lot of person. When we put everything together, 50-50, we have an ecosystem that works toward and do better stuff. So I'm very connected with the community, and I believe we should have more space for the community. But as a business owner, I didn't want to see my money going away to things that is not going to bring any return. So I really want to see projects balancing it. So 50-50 for me is a good number for now. And I'm here to try to do my best working on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Samara. Chidi?
All right. For me, I would like to see lean towards the community side of things. I believe that Zcash at this point really needs heavy community presence, community activities, community marketing. So in as much as there are funding projects, technical based projects, I support that, but I lean towards more community initiatives, because if you build a very good project and the community doesn't know about it and people don't use it, the project is still eventually going to go out of become obsolete. If you look around, there are projects who are not that I wouldn't rate them as being very good, but because they've invested heavily on marketing and community projects, community activities, they tend to perform very well. They tend to do very well. Their prices of their token are going off the roof. When the prices go off the roof, they have more money to spend. So for me, in as much as I like the technical part and I would like to see technical projects, I love to see more community-based projects. I would like to see the Global Ambassador Program recalled back, because it was basically almost apart from ZChub, it was just the Global Ambassador Program that was running community initiatives. So that's it for me.
Thanks, Chidi. And K-Works?
Yeah, I think a really key word here is balanced. And what I mean by balance is that how are we allocating resources to projects? And when I see ZCG allocating $1 million grants to 2 or 3 project proponents, what that does is it limits the budget that is available to grow the ecosystem. And what it also does is it forces those few projects to have to deliver great results. And when we look back at the examples of those large, like $1 million grants, they didn't provide the user adoption and user growth that the community or the other project proponents need, right? So if what we're doing is only investing in a few, we're not actually growing the ecosystem. And it's really interesting that Wobbs brings up ZecHub right away. But ZecHub, its initial grant was like 56,000, maybe 70,000. So that means we could have built 20 ZecHubs for just what was funded to Nighthawk Wallet, for example. So balance is really important. And it's also really important, are we trying to build a community that's based on decentralization? Or are we actually trying to centralize our resources into a few projects?
I think K-Works, I think your audio dropped 30 seconds ago-ish. Yep, we can't hear you, K-Works. We'll circle back. Take a look at your audio settings, and we'll circle back to you. So next up, Peacemonger on that first question.
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is that yes, we need both. But when your budget is getting small, you can't continue to think big. And I agree with a lot of what's been said before me. Like we need to diversify. I think putting all of our eggs in one basket is just crazy, especially since that strategy hasn't worked. Investing just in just a few large projects is not a guarantee of success. So we're not going to just build our way out of this one. I think we have an amazing community of really talented people, and given where the budget is, I would be very careful about committing large chunks of funds into just a few projects. So I think today we can accomplish so much. Like a little goes a long way in our community, and ZCH was a great example of that. But there are other projects as well, like the ambassador program. I think that's a very important project as well. So but also I think it's important to look at user research again, and not before we commit any types of funds, and see what our users are saying, what they're ready for and what they're asking for.
Thanks, Peacemonger. And K-Works, we got you back here on audio. We missed just the end of your first question answer there. We still cannot hear you, so we'll take a look at your audio settings again for me, and we'll circle back. But we're gonna keep rolling here to the next question. Which, if any, grants has ZCG rejected? Had you been on the committee, you would have approved. And which, if any, grants has ZCG approved? Had you been on the committee, would you have rejected? This is from Michael Harms, and we're gonna kick it off with Peacemonger.
Where did the question go? Sorry. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, like I mentioned earlier, I think the ambassador program, I'm not sure if this was a grant or not, but discontinuing that program, I think is a huge mistake. The community we have today, the vibrant community we have today is in large part an accomplishment of that program. I mean, I'm biased, but I would approve. I would never cut user research, whether it's my project or not. But it's just I think it's irresponsible, and I think when you've got grants committee members that argue with the basic principles of product adoption, that is a problem. So that's okay. So those are the projects I would have approved. I would have never approved a Zcash Media project. I think it is, I mean, they're not the only video production company out there. I think that work could have been done quicker and for a fraction of the cost. I think I wouldn't continue that grant. I think taking the remainder of that grant and putting it into the community of creators would yield much more activity and much better results. I think that grant is, I think Zcash Media has proven their inability to beat a productive member of this community and to work well with the rest of the community. So that is a grant. I'm actually the only grant that I'm certain about is a bad idea. Just based also on all the feedback I've heard from the community. So that's I think that one's a mistake. And also when it was approved, the budget was in a completely different place, which is why timely work is important. And I think there are, when you have to be professional, and being a year is not professional. And we shouldn't continue to work with people who have shown to be unreliable.
Thanks, Peacemonger. K-Works, I'm not sure if we have you back. You look frozen to me. Can you hear
Check.
me? Yep.
I can hear you.
Okay. You
Can
want
you hear
to?
me?
I can. Would you like to answer that second question?
And can you repeat the second question, please?
Sure. Yes. So, which, if any, grants has ZCG rejected that, had you been on the committee, you would have approved? And the second part, which, if any, grant has ZCG approved that, had you been on the committee, you would have rejected?
So a project that ZCG rejected that I would have put a lot more concentration on was the ZF Frost wallet integration project. I think that Frost has enormous potential. And I think that the volume, I think it was 157,000, was a reasonable sum for the integration of having a team take a lead in trying to, were they executing the usage of Frost to its utmost perfection? No, of course not. What they were trying to do was demonstrate leadership with Frost. I thought that the Zcash Foundation invested a lot of resources into that technology, and we need to have teams working on it. So this is one project that I think we should have. And at the same time, the team that was proposing the Frost integration had already a vibrant community. They demonstrated the willingness to contribute what I call circular content creation into our community, and they seemed quite reasonable. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. In terms of ZCG proof, would you have rejected? I would have rejected the Arty project. I don't think that the Arty project created value for our ecosystem. And I don't think that it's creating user adoption for the amount of funds and resources that is being spent.
I think we lost you there again, K-Works. Yep. So we're going to have to keep it rolling. Next up on this question is Chidi.
Okay. Sometime in 2023, a project, a group of Indian developers submitted a grant to develop a B2B border payment infrastructure. And I still remember very well that some of those engineers in that project, I think, did something with Matic. I think they did offered some engineering services for Matic then. So, and the project they wanted to build, what they wanted to build would have really, really helped in mass adoption. So I was a little bit disappointed that ZCG actually rejected that grant. I felt that maybe they could have given them a very strict timeline, milestone to start small, because the project also seemed very ambitious. Would have led them to start with small milestones, take the little steps with maybe little funding, then see how far they could go before going further. Then for what I would have rejected, I would have quickly rejected the Zcash Media. I think the price, the funding for Zcash Media grant is over the roof, and with little or very little value. For me, I think that fund could have been deployed into better use. I think it could have been deployed for better use. If we used a fraction of that money, of that almost 1 million USD, to approach influencers who already have a very large community, to begin to speak about Zcash and educate their community, I think it will bring them more value. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Chidi. Samara?
So I'm not gonna mention like a one in a specific, but I'm gonna bring that we invested in a lot of wallets, like we spread it, and none of them was very good, perfect working. So we spent a lot of money on it. Also, like Ledger and Trezor, they have like a lot of money in it, and I believe they didn't deliver it anything. So Trezor didn't return the money yet. So from me, like this is like throwing money away. You know, like maybe you don't want to just one wallet. Okay, please focus in two, but like not in 3, 4, 5, and then we just put money away. Another thing is like, for example, we don't have investment like for events in Spain and in Brazil. Like we don't have a budget for that, and like this is not gonna be very expensive, and could be something that could be approved. So I just feel like instead of like there are the candidates said before, big chunks of money for one or two, we needed to maybe stop, look around and see, okay, for community, small portions and see what they are delivering. Even in the ambassador programs, we could see like there are people that were not delivering anything. They were not investing the money they get in the community. So from my side, it will be it.
Thanks, Samara. Wobbs?
Hey, so these are good questions, and I may be a little biased because I've been on the committee for the last 2.5 years. In terms of grants that we've rejected, that I would have approved, I think I've probably voted pretty much in favor, or on the rejection side of most of the grants that we've rejected. I'm not really thinking of anything specific that comes to mind. Maybe the Arculus hardware wallet, which in hindsight would have been that hardware wallet specifically probably has less adoption than Ledger and Trezor, so would have probably been even more of a risk to take, more so than funding Ledger and Trezor based initiatives. But and that's something to also mention while we're on this topic, is that grant making has a certain level of risk inherent to it. You can fund really great teams like the folks who were behind the Trezor grant, and end up encountering roadblocks that as a grant committee you're just not able to overcome because for whatever reason priorities have changed, or development roadblocks have come into understanding. So I think that's something to consider in terms of grants that we've approved that, had I been on the committee, I would have rejected. For the most part, I think everything that we've approved, it's super rare that I vote against the grain in terms of what the committee is voting to approve. One thing that did get approved recently that I was not in favor for was the NIM grant. And that's not because I don't appreciate NIM or network privacy. I just think that the grant was not essential at the time and would not make a meaningful adoption impact. But nevertheless, the committee has decided to fund it, and I support that, and I want to see that grant succeed. Yeah, I think other things to mention, Zcash Media has been brought up a lot. One thing that I'm kind of excited for is that we have since 6 months worth of professional content that's lined up that is getting ready to be released over the next 6 months. Like I had this content been released in the pits of a bear market, would it have had that much of an impact? I'm not sure, but I'm glad that it's going to be released now rather than 6 months to a year ago. But that's just my opinion. I think that's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Wobbs. G-Guy?
So with the question of rejected, I think 100% the Zero project, and I think this raises quite an interesting point. My belief is the mission that we should all be, not just us, but ECC and ZF2 should all be striving towards is building a product and then building a community around that. And that goes back to the last question a little bit too. And I think that's really important. And one of the things that I think gets underappreciated is that to do that, it requires more than just the grants that, show up in a user interface. So, things like auditing, things like the Zero project, things like, there are probably many examples, can't think of them right now. It's 5 a.m. for me. So I think that if we focus on building a community around products, and we can do that by funding things like Zero and making things better for current users, which include all the things that I've mentioned. Yeah, I think that's really important. With regards to approving things that have been approved that I would have rejected, there, as far as I recall, over the last year as I've been in the committee, I don't think there are any that I rejected. So I would have, rejected that have been approved. So I'm pleased about that. But we'll see. There's still a couple on the plate now, and we'll see how they go. And I thank you.
Thanks, G-Guy. And Roosevelt.
Well, it is not a simple answer because from the outside, without seeing the quality or strength. Sorry, there is some feedback. Can you hear me?
You're good, Roosevelt.
Okay. Without seeing the quality or strength of these proposals, we might think that they are reject likely. I remember a proposal last year from the Africa community, I think, which proposed events, universities at Nigeria and other cities. I would have liked to see that project go ahead, but I repeat, I know that many proposals sometimes are not present with very clear or sustainable objectives that also has to be taken into account. Educational and community proposals must also be very well presented and support. Would I reject any approved proposal? Well, certainly Zcash Media, for all that we have already seen and how it has ignited the community.
Thank you, Roosevelt. And we are on to the next question. Let me pull that up. Okay, so what do you think the best approaches are for determining which grantees will continue to remain involved in the Zcash community after grant funding runs out? And the second part being, is there a way to ensure that ZCG is a springboard for strong contributors who will stick around? This question was posted by Chris Nuttycombe, and we're going to start with G-Guy.
In my experience on the committee for the last year, one of the best ways to do that is jumping on a call. Like, there's nothing more insightful than hopping on a call with the candidate, with the grant proposers, and finding out what their intentions are, what their motivations are, etc. So I think we've done that actually quite a lot this year. I'm not sure about other years, but this year it feels like we've increased the number of calls we jump on with proposers, and I think that really helps. So with regards to, is there a way to ensure that ZCG is a springboard for strong contributors to stick around? Yeah, I think we kind of see that a little bit now, I think, because of the budgeting constraints that we have, we can see a lot of grant proposers that despite us having to either reduce the amount of funds we're able to allocate toward projects, or even sometimes not being able to fund those projects because we just don't have the budget, we are seeing some of those participants stick around, and I'm really encouraged to see that, because it shows to me that our community is becoming stronger, and that I think some of the concern is money that comes out of the dev fund, including ZCG, might be just like a piggy bank for some. I don't see it that way, and in my experience, I haven't seen that occur. So I'm really encouraged by that. And yeah, I hope more stick around and we can encourage that and jump in more calls with people and all the things. Thanks.
Thanks, G-Guy. I see K-Works. Do we have you? I see you rejoined on your phone. I want to make sure we circle back to you on that last question.
Yeah, and just to make sure that, can you hear me, everything?
Yes, sounds
Yeah?
good. Yep.
Great. So how do we make sure that grantees stick around into the ecosystem? First and foremost is ask them, and second of all is when we are actually about.
Oh, did he just drop again? Let me double check. Yeah, he's having issues. Okay, we're gonna stick with the Chris question here. We heard from G-Guy, and we're gonna jump to Wobbs.
Hey, so these are really good questions. These two questions, the answer for these sort of go together in my mind. Ideally, you'd like to jumpstart an organization or a team that has a clear path to independent profitability and who is value aligned. But this path is not always clear cut. And sometimes it's riddled with landmines in this ecosystem because of delays or roadblocks, unforeseen roadblocks. And when you consider things like wallets and infrastructure, like light wallet infrastructure, some of these things, I propose the question, like, what is a viable path to independent profitability for them? It's something that we struggle with on the committee. Generally, and this is going to circle back to G-Guy's point about hopping on calls with people, generally, I think that orgs that are willing to compromise with us and are flexible and empathetic with the budget situation are those who are willing to stick around. You don't know for sure until you're in these situations and see who is willing to adapt or just throws the towel in because they're not getting what they want or feel entitled to. So yeah, I think there are a lot of variables. The best thing that we can do with grantees is hop on a call, try to better understand their intentions, where they're coming from, what are their long-term goals and objectives, and in terms of tight budget situations, finding organizations and teams that are able to compromise with us and are able to be flexible. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chidi.
Okay, those who are very passionate about Zcash will stick around. So how do you somehow identify those who will be passionate, who believe in Zcash? It's a tough call, but a few ways to do it is hop on a call with them, listen to how they see things, what they believe in. Secondly, the amount of money they are asking for could also be a determining factor. Let's say someone submits a project and is probably asking for maybe $200 per hour for the work he's going to be doing. He's probably in need for the money. But if you find people who are within the hourly budget range for where they are coming from, or are very flexible, who can even go a little lower just to see the project succeed, I think it could be an indication that this one will stick around. So basically, it's when we get to that end point, when they've done a project, that's when you actually know when the folks are going to stick around. Because I also understand that from time to time, people's priorities and dedications also change. Thanks.
Thanks, Chidi. Next up, Roosevelt.
As an active member of the community, I believe that these beneficiaries must demonstrate that they are active, I think. The question here would be, what is to be an active member of the community? Well, that is a person who actively participates in the valuable conversations of the forum on Discord and who has demonstrated in their track record that they have to their credit initiative that have really contributed to not only to the Zcash ecosystem, but to its adoption and use. ZCG will be a springboard for those who remain as it becomes more and more aligned with their interests and needs of the global community. It will not be a change we will see overnight. Thanks.
Next is Peacemonger.
So I understand the importance of funding new projects that are, just new blood coming into the ecosystem. But I think funding our, projects within our community, people who have already proven themselves to be active. This is why community engagement is so important, like figuring out what our community members are good at. We have really passionate people here, but passionate about Zcash specifically, and they all have skill sets. So I don't think we're using that to our advantage yet fully. And I think that no matter what you build, the answers to user adoption will always, you'll always have to come back to the community for the answers, because it's not enough to just build things and wait for them to work. Like when I hear build it and they will come, I want to hang myself, because this was an outdated concept 20 years ago, and the fact that people are still using it, it's just like it's not how it works. So the community is super important, and the clearest, they have shown their ability to stick around. They have shown their interest to stick around. So find out what they're good at and let them do it.
Thank you. And last on this question is Samara.
So it's a challenge, like real. Could be holders like a Grayscale, etc., participating, like the stakeholders are an option. We have to think about it. So plus the projects that we have, that it's good, like it's working. Not calling to Brazil, but I know what the Brazilian community have done, like what the Brazilian team have done. And so with this amount of money, we should look into the others programs they apply it and say, should we compare and see what they do with this amount of money, what they have done? Should we do like investigating or what are they doing? Like, I don't know. I just don't want to see like money again being thrown away just to say we have an ambassador in somewhere else and doing nothing to educate it and spread the Zcash, like educating their community. So I believe maybe ZSA like is working well. We have a great chance of opening the marketing for Zcash and investments on ventures capitals. I actually don't know. So I believe we should stick with it's working. For example, once again, I will say like the Brazil, what they have done, and looking as what we are expecting for the next one. They're applying for similar proposals.
Thank you, Samara. And it looks like we have completely lost K-Works, so we're just going to keep rolling. I will reach out to K-Works after, and we will have he will have an opportunity to answer all these questions on the forum. Next question. If you were on the committee right now, would you support continuing or canceling the second milestone of the Zcash Media Grant? This was posted to the forum and upvoted, or posted to the forum by Milton and upvoted, and we are kicking it off with G-Guy.
Yeah, so I think with regards to Zcash Media, I think the ZCG has done a really good job of expressing the concerns and things we can do better. And with regards to the Zcash Media project, that's not just them, but also us. I think that it's easy to, just point a finger at people, but I think you have to reflect on what you can do better and what we can do better. So I think there's a lot we can do better in terms of managing grants, etc. With regards to the actual question, which is continuing on cancelling, I think the approach that is happening right now is the best one for the community. I think the approach that we are taking right now is to pause the second phase, assess the outcomes for the first phase, and then make our decision on going ahead with the second phase. And I think that's really important, because I think that while some people might say concerned about delays, concerned about deliverables, concerned about everything else, and at the end of the day, what matters is what impact is ZCG funding this grant going to have for Zcash. And despite what our concerns are for what has happened so far, if we still think that Zcash Media can have a positive impact, which we can assess when these videos come out very, very soon, then we'll have the information we need to make that decision. So I think that's the way we should move forward, is not to make rash decisions. We have the opportunity to gain more insight and information, and we should take that opportunity.
Thanks, G-Guy. Samara?
So yes, should continue it. However, I mean, it was a lot of money. We need to bear in mind it. So it was a very expensive project. So they have achieved a lot of stuff, but I believe could have been a little lower on that. So it was Zcash could be like the top 30 to 50 overall, because the price of the marketing in crypto, and we need to see projects as a product too. So I mean, if we wanna Zcash to be seen, we need to invest in media. There is no way you have a product and you don't market it. So yes, we need money to marketing, but in another hand, was $900,000. So yes, I will continue, but I will also be the one that will be doing checking, are you doing what you proposed, how it's being done, what we could improve, and I will be in contact then we could getting better results from this money.
Thanks, Samara. Peachmonger?
Oh, I didn't realize I've been unmuted this whole time. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. So I think we absolutely need to point the fingers. It's called accountability. I think we know what the outcome of phase one is. I don't, it's an unreasonably expensive project. I would be absolutely against it. We have a community of creators that could take that content and do something with it, but now you've kind of insulted them, because they've been doing a lot of work for free. And now the community that should be supporting all this content, they're not really, they kind of have to do it while holding their nose. I know this, it's hard for me to share that content, even if it's good, because I know who made it, because I know how unreliable they have been. I think we have to shop around and see who else can do this work. And I'm pretty sure we can do it for a fraction of the cost. I think the opportunity cost there is super high. We still have, there's still many milestones left. I don't see how we can trust them to complete those milestones. God, I can really go on and on. I think I should make a post about it, but for how long, I don't know how much is left, but 400K or 300K. you split that up into smaller chunks and give it to maybe some of it can go, some of them can be bigger and they can go to professional video production companies. I've worked with companies like that. I've negotiated contracts with them. Like Zcash Media contract is just crazy to me. I think the community can do a lot with that money, a lot more than Zcash Media can. And I think they should hand over all the materials and let someone else finish it, because if they were an employee, they would have been fired a long time ago, and this is exactly what would have happened. Somebody else would have finished that work. The end.
Next up, Roosevelt.
Well, yes, I would vote to immediately cancel the grant award to Zcash Media. I have to say, not only because of its delay, justified or not, that's another debate, but also because of its piecemeal delivery. In addition to the immense delay, the engagement to be gained from that delivery will be minimal, hopefully. I think that Zcash Media case has left us a great learning, not to cancel or crucify the ZCG, but to listen more to the community and to adjust the delivery of milestone, being equally strict or flexible with all proposals. I think that, like Peacemonger said, that money may be used to other things in the community or other proposals or whatever.
Okay, thank you, Roosevelt. Wobbs.
Hey, so I'm going to pretty much ditto everything that you guys said. I think the current approach that we have is the most warranted approach. Generally speaking, I don't like recalling grants, especially from a team who's working diligently on their grant. I don't remember what thread it was in, but I posted a response to somebody recently talking about the variety of grant candidates that we see and how things generally occur when roadblocks occur on a grant. Some people become unresponsive. Some people are still responsive, but they don't have a solid understanding for like how they're going to overcome the roadblocks. And then some people encounter roadblocks and they work with us to establish a path forward that ZCG thinks is in the best interest of the community. And that is exactly what we did with Zcash Media. There was a lot of community support when this grant first came about. Zcash Media has been working diligently. ZCG has reviewed the content that is getting ready to come out. I like the content. I think it's good. I think it's what is needed. And let's not forget that the content is also intended for broader audiences than just the traditional circle of Zcashers that you see involved in the ecosystem. So we hope to see these videos spread far and wide and used in a variety of different places. So I think from my point of view, let's let the videos come out and the results speak for themselves. And ZCG will evaluate how those results are. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Wobbs. And last for this question is Chidi.
Okay, I will approach it from two sides. It is good that ZCG has paused it, pending when they release the first milestone and people get to assess it and see what it is like. Secondly, I would suggest that probably the ZCG need to hop on a call with the Zcash Media and tell them to reevaluate the ground and review the price downwards, considering the economic realities of the sector at the moment. So if they could demonstrate that they are willing to cut the price down very well, maybe you could consider then assess what people say when they release the first milestone. Maybe you can just give it a little more time. But if they refuse to be flexible considering what is happening, I think, in my own opinion, I will cancel it.
Thanks, Chidi. Next question is, in the recent Azure survey, ZCG received a confidence score of 2.95 out of 5 for its ability to allocate funds to projects that increase user adoption. How do you plan to allocate funds to projects that effectively increase user adoption, and what strategies will you implement to help improve the score? This was posted by Jason McGee, and we are kicking it off with Peacemonger.
Well, I mean, the score doesn't only tells us, it's just an average score, right? It doesn't tell us why people rated ZCG that way. So I think the first step is to figure out why. I have some ideas of why, just because of some of the feedback that I hear. And I think most recently, I think the way Zcash Media was handled, I think that's a big, if I had to guess, I would say that that's a big factor. I think also the fact that ZCG is not an independent organization, it kind of, it limits what it can do and how it can operate. And I think it kind of creates the wrong set of incentives. I think a lot of people would support, according to the same survey, a lot of people would support ZCG becoming its own organization. So I think, I mean, it's hard to answer that question today with the information I have. But first, I would ask why. Why are people so unhappy? So, but I think just listening to the community more, like the feedback on Zcash Media has been overwhelming. I have it's routinely brought up in user interviews, or kind of randomly, because I don't ask about it. I didn't even know about this project until I heard a lot of a lot of negative feedback about it. So with that amount of negative feedback, you still have members saying, well, let's just wait and see. That's probably a problem, if I had to guess. So just it needs more research. We need to ask the community why they're unhappy.
Thank you, Peacemonger. Next is Wobbs.
Hey, so this is a good question. My response is, I think that we have already been allocated funding to things that will help improve user adoption. This is a question that I think is very frequently top of mind within the committee. The reason why I think this rating might be a little bit lower is because some of the high cost grants that we funded are still in progress and haven't had a chance to generate that adoption impact that we anticipate from them. So I think specifically about ZSAs, ZSAs were a project that was taken on by ZCG as a result of community polling. And it's taken years to get to the point that we are, where the community has only recently publicly organized around, trying to determine and identify the roadblocks to activating ZSAs and bringing that to mainnet. So I think this will be a major upgrade and unlock a lot of adoption potential. And it's something that we have invested a lot in. So, it's not something that we should just abandon at this point in time. We need to see it move across the finish line to completion. Zcash Media, of course, they've taken a lot longer than anticipated to produce what they promised. And I'm very grateful and receptive to the feedback that the community has provided. But I'm also happy with Zcash Media's work and believe that the messaging and the videos that they're producing, with the intention to capture an audience outside of the traditional Zcash circles, I think that's important and valuable, and I think that will help with user adoption. With hardware wallets, this is another project that, or set of projects that we've invested funding into and had multiple hiccups and roadblocks between both Trezor and Ledger initiatives. I still think the lack of a shielded hardware wallet compatibility is a major adoption blocker for Zcash. I think we're super close with the Ledger integration now, and I'm really excited. I hope all the roadblocks with that project are satisfied soon, and we can actually start using that, because I think it will be very helpful, especially based on the feedback that we've heard from the Ledger team. And also, let's not forget about things like Y Wallet. Y Wallet was a ZCG funded wallet that helped the community dredge through the scam attacks that we were having. we've funded a variety of different wallets, but Y Wallet certainly rose as one of the most popular and widely used wallets, and that was ZCG funded. So that's something that I think ZCG can be proud of in the community as well. I think generally speaking, we can continue to be more proactive with grantees. We've tightened up reporting requirements and cut non-performant grantees, and have also negotiated with grantees on costs where it makes sense. But I also think that taking the user research and community feedback into account is also important. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Wobbs. Next is Chidi.
Okay, for me, I think that user adoption will be directly proportional or directly tied to community projects. If we do more community projects, if we fund more community projects, it will definitely bring up more user adoption. That is one. Secondly, the committee can also maybe make a request for proposal, telling people to come up with ideas or little projects that doesn't exceed maybe $5,000 that could bring about a certain level of adoption in their region. I think that could bring about the small projects that could bring user adoption in different parts of the world. I think it's a good fit. And then another thing, just for my country as a case study, Nigeria as a case study, it is very, 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 very difficult now to access Zcash, to get ZEC token or to sell it. Recently, the major exchanges, centralized exchanges we have, like Binance, KuCoin, have all exited Nigeria. So you see, there is a gap. So for user adoption to occur, we first have to solve the problem of people getting to have access to the token and getting to have access to the product. So these are some of the things I believe if we could address, it will really, 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 really user adoption. Thanks.
Thanks, Chidi. G-Guy?
Yeah, so I think Wobbs makes an excellent point, which is there's so much just over the horizon. So much. So you've got CSAs, you've got Zcash Media, you've got the next one's Ledger, we've got NIM, you've got Proof of Balance, which is coin weighted voting, Maya, DEX, etc. These are all things that are coming in the next 12 months. Like we've got the chain safe proposal that just came in recently. Like there is so much stuff that is going to drop in the next 12 months that I think and hope, and we all cross our fingers, I'm sure, that is going to greatly impact user adoption. So I think that the hope is that once these deliverables come out, the community can better assess the impact of ZCG funding, and we can actually see the impact of that funding. So my hope is that naturally, as products actually get deployed and out into the world and people get to use them or see them or whatever it is, that this will increase. But also, just with the nuance of that question, I think it's important to remember that ZCG, it depends how you define user adoption. Because I think it's important to also recognize that ZCG do other things. Like I think it's really important to also remember the current users. So, things like, and it impacts in future users, but things like, security of everything, like ZCG fund ecosystem security lead, which does audits for the ecosystem and things like that. So I think there's other areas where ZCG also have an impact, which I think is very important. So I don't think we should forget that and say anything that isn't directly impacting user adoption should be forgotten about. But absolutely, I think there's so much dropping in the next 12 months. I'm so excited for Zcash. Just really positive. Thanks.
Thanks, G-Guy. Roosevelt?
Adoption is achieved through community and educational initiative, like Chidi said. I think I know some people are opposed to spending money on educational or community initiative, but adoption can also be measured in wallet downloads, in continued use of SEC as a means of payment, and Peacemonger with sure can measure that. She knows. We need to encourage communities to accept Zcash in small and medium businesses so that Zcash is not only seen as a cool privacy tool, but as a solution, which in fact it is. Playful initiative, bounties, competitions are a good hook to attract new users, and that work happens in the communities. That's why we must encourage community initiative.
Thanks, Roosevelt. And last is Samara.
So as I started asking for votes, was that I'll be trying to collect all the community interest and the stakeholders' interest to get the best view of it. So what we could do is still doing a translating surveys into multiple language. So the community will have more adoption and access as well. Hearing back, collecting feedback from the users, who suffers when they want to expand the ZAC. We need expansion on that. So if I want to buy this bottle of water with a ZAC in Brazil, how long it will take? Should we start implement projects that we can use a ZAC as a main of payment as well? How long it will take? Are the users willing to wait the time? We need the wallets working well, so it helps a lot when we think about it. We were having a lot of problems, and maybe this is one of the factors that brings the score down. We need to continue allocating fundings with wallets that support and continuous translations. We maybe put payment gateways within partnerships. We could have something like open users listening, channels, dedicated link, ouvidoria, investing on marketing. And so to improve, we need to hear back first, why, as Peacemonger stated before, this is the why we get 2.95 and not 5. What is behind this question? So then we can improve and implement and hear from our community and for our stakeholders and to decide the best and to get the best interest on our decision. This is what I'm planning to do, hearing from the community and from the stakeholders before anything that I decided.
Thank you, Samara. And we are now to our next and final question. Is there any thought around preferring grantees that have a path to independent profitability that keeps them contributing? This was posted by Chris Nuttycombe, and Roosevelt will start.
Interesting. I think that profitability should be considered on a project-by-project basis. Profitability will come after adoption, I think. And to achieve adoption, we need to drive education and use of Zcash. I think that is the order. If I think recipe, okay. We cannot see the profitability like the first objective. Okay, that's depend on any project, but I think that we must push to that the community to know to use well Zcash and then come to profitability, I think.
Thanks, Roosevelt. Wobbs?
I'm going to agree with Roosevelt on this one. I think it's a project-to-project basis. There are some things that we fund, like audits, infrastructure, that don't have an easy path there. Other things that we do fund that could or eventually have a path to profitability. In fact, we've also had discussions with various grantees already about their ability and their intentions to become independently profitable or seek funding from other sources in light of the current funding situation. This is encouraged, in my point of view, and makes sense because ZCG can't continue to fund grantees as we have been, especially with the current budget constraints. But there's also something to be said about value alignment as well. Like, beware of where your funding comes from, because where that funding comes from, then the values may realign to those funding sources. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Wobbs. Samara?
So, like, as I totally agree with both guys stated, we're actually we are thinking about like we are a company by then, and like if we don't have like a profit and money to reinvest, like there is no proposal on that. So for me, what we should continue is like educating like the actual users, new users, but also when we are doing this, we need to make sure that we are investing the right thing. Like, doesn't make sense you invest in educating a small town. They don't have like access to internet, so we are gonna provide something for them, and they are not gonna use. Like they don't have access to internet. How they are gonna buy Zcash? How can like they are gonna use only this day? So maybe we need to focus a little bit on prospecting real users, like continue educating, like even if they don't have access, as we have in the Zcash community, we help people that they have access with the internet, and we help them using the wallet. So we need to keep contributing, like with the community. They are really interested, keeping doing marketing, because we are not gonna get the word spreaded without marketing and like with passionate people. So, but by the end of the day, we still need to get the Zcash going up. So I don't want to see money once again throwing away and saying like we have, for example, an island in the middle of nowhere that have barely access to the internet, and we are going to do a project there. So like it's so nice and cool, but by the end we'll be just wasting money. So is the place that we are going to invest, is the community will be have access? Are they interested in learning this, or are they just making these proposals to getting money from Zcash? Another thing that I was thinking is maybe we could settle the proposals not in Zcash, but maybe in US dollars, because of the money, like the amount of the value is today. So like maybe we could fix in US dollars for the next 6 months. And if it goes up, they will get the same amount in dollars. And if it goes down, they will get the same amount in dollars, and we are not putting in Zcash amount. And that's it. Keep continuing and listening from the community and balancing from the community and the stakeholders. I feel like balance is the keyword for the situation right now.
Thank you, Samara. Chidi?
Okay, I think it's always going to be a mix of the two. Some projects or grantees will eventually become profitable, while some will not be. But the key thing is to continue to educate, continue to do community projects, continue to look for those people who have the passion to deliver. For instance, if you have a country, in a country you have businesses accepting Zcash, automatically they are contributing to the ecosystem by making it possible for people to buy goods and services with Zcash. So they have no reason whatsoever to stop. They are benefiting. Zcash is also benefiting. So I think it's always going to be a mix of the two. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Chidi. Peacemonger?
This is the toughest question of all the questions that we've had so far, and it's a very good question. I understand where it's coming from, and it's. I mean, on the surface, it makes perfect sense to fund or entities that are capable of eventually surviving and succeeding on their own. That's the ideal thing. But at the same time, we're kind of it is really early, and we are kind of like a decentralized organization where it's one company with all these different pieces kind of working together but doing their own thing. And so let's say you have a really good copywriter working for your company. They're not on the sales team, they're not getting new customers, but they're still making an impact, and they're still valuable. So if they're not like literally bringing in the money, does that mean that that their contribution is not impactful? No. So that's how some of the projects in our ecosystem are. I don't know. It's a tough question. But I will just add to what everybody else has said. Some projects can be evaluated on their profitability, and some can't.
Thank you, Peacemonger. And last up is Jigai.
Yeah, so of course, I think it's important that absolutely products can be profitable, and we should absolutely strive to do that. But at the moment, like a wallet, I find it very hard to work out how a wallet can be profitable with 3,000 users, 3,000 downloads. So I think it's really important to understand that we're in the early stages and they can't do it alone. Someone can't build a wallet and all of a sudden there's 100,000 users. A wallet alone is not going to do that. It's Zcash as a product that's going to do that. So I think we all need to work towards creating an ecosystem and an environment where that can happen. But of course, this goes back to the last question that was asked around this topic, which was we need to be funding teams that will stick around, that are aligned, that aren't going to leave. So if we can find teams that are going to provide a positive contribution and start building products and things that users are going to use, then hopefully that increases adoption. Hopefully they stick around and keep working on that until we get to a point where we reach that tipping point where we see a significant increase in users, and then we can work towards those sorts of things. So I think it's really important. And I wouldn't want to get distracted on this too much in terms of, like, for example, ZSAs. Like, should we only fund ZSAs if we work out a fee structure that's going to make it profitable or pay for itself or something like that? I think that's something that happens later on. But absolutely, we should fund teams that stick around, and therefore, if they stick around for long enough, we'll reach profitability. But that's still that's still a fair way away, I think.
Thanks, Jigai. So it looks like we've been going for about an hour and a half, and we're going to jump into final words from each of the candidates, and we're going to go straight back to Jigai. We got you there, Jigai, or did we lose you for a second?
So I probably double tapped the form. Yeah, so to go back to what we were saying before and to summarize, I think the overarching goal for everyone in the ecosystem should be to provide value to current and future users of Zcash. And the way that we do that is by building a product that everybody loves and wants to use. And then, of course, like everybody else is saying, we have to build a community around that. That doesn't always happen organically or just because. I absolutely agree, build it and they will come is not a thing. You have to know that let users know something exists, and they have to be motivated to use it and know why they should use it. So I think those things are very, very important. And then I think, I think the most important thing here is, what are you going to change, I guess, in the next term of ZCG? And I think for me, I think the path that we are heading down is the right one, which is, I believe, funding products and initiatives that, as I mentioned before, are going to be released very, very soon. Very, very exciting to me. So I think there is a positive future ahead of us, and I would like to continue doing that work and funding those projects that will provide value to current and future users. And so excited to see what happens in the next 12 months. Thanks.
Thanks to you, Guy. Next up, Peacemonger.
What else to add? I think, we have a limited budget. We can't be using our gut feeling to figure out where that goes. I think, again, user research is important, which is what I will continue working on. So I just want to say it's really cool to see so many candidates run this time, and I hope this pool of candidates will grow. And I want to see just a diversity of backgrounds, nationalities. We need more diversity on ZCG. We need people with experience, and so I hope that pool will continue to grow and become better. And I think we should, as community members, we could do a lot to make that happen. And just encourage more engagement in the community, because we have an amazing one. That's it.
Thank you, Peacemonger. And let's see, sorry, next, Chidi.
Okay, guys. It's great being in this call with wonderful people. I've actually had interactions with some of the candidates before, personal interactions. So I look forward to a wonderful future with ZCG. I look forward to an opportunity to serve, and like I did during my ambassador program, where I used some of my stipends to fund communities outside Nigeria. I would like also to replicate it if I find myself among the VCG community. Thanks.
Thank you, Chidi. Next up, Samara.
So once again, was my pleasure to be here. And if I'm elected, I will have my commitment again to bringing voice in the community and defending the best interests of our community and the stakeholders. And during my approvals of the proposals, if I approve something, I'll be the one that will be checking if the job is being done. If not, I'm getting back from the community and from the stakeholders what the proposals should done during a small period of time, maybe during 2 or 3 months. So instead of a year, to getting back feedbacks of things that should have done. So I really want to be the voice of the community and the stakeholders. And I believe we can only getting out of the situation, because getting together and getting contribution from the community, from the stakeholders, hearing back from the users. And once again, thank you.
Thank you, Samara. And Wobbs?
Hey, just want to echo some of Tatiana's or Peacemonger's sentiment around being super encouraged to see the large turnout of passionate and thoughtful candidates that we have running for this election. I think it's great to see the diversity of candidates. I want to see the pool of candidates grow as well. I wish the best for all the candidates, and I want to thank the community for your support, and thank the Zcash Foundation for all their help and support with ZCG operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Wobbs. And Roosevelt.
I'm honored and grateful to be able to be here with other candidates. It's amazing to see people from Latin America and Africa here. Congratulations. I was very pleased to see that we agree on many of the answers and issues of concern to the global community, which is a good sign. I believe that we build change in Zcash from all spaces. And ZCG is an important pillar within Zcash to see those changes that we all hope for. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to Zcash Foundation. And thank you to you, Dan.
Thank you, Roosevelt. And thank you to all the candidates for joining us today and for volunteering to contribute to the Zcash ecosystem as a member of ZCG. And thank you for folks that jumped in here to attend. If anybody watching wants to ask the candidates questions that they didn't get to have answered today, you can do so by going to the Zcash community forums. In the next few days, we will open up a poll of the Zcash Community Advisory Panel, ZCAP, and that poll will run until the end of June, and the new committee members will take up their seats at the beginning of July. This was recorded. I'll get this on YouTube and share it across socials as soon as I can. And yeah, thank you again for everybody participating. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.